Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Authentic Seller podcast. My name is Stephen Mason, and I'm so excited to finally launch this podcast series that I've actually been considering launching for a little over a year now. And fortunately, the last year of my life has just been so many learning opportunities of mistakes I made and different situations that have really sort of affirmed that I'm on a journey. I'm not having had reached a destination, and that's what life is all about. So, in this podcast series, I really want to sort of open up and kind of be real about some of the struggles I've had as a salesperson. Just some of the things maybe unique to me that I feel like hold me back from reaching my fullest potential. And I've got a couple of stories that I look forward to sharing with you guys that I'll kind of get into examples of what I mean by that. But before I do that, I wanted to read you guys just sort of a kind of an overview of a couple of things that I really like. I feel like summarize where I want to go with this podcast series. What I've learned and continue to learn is that being great, being a top seller, or even being the number one seller doesn't satisfy when your inner self isn't aligned with the outer version of you. But when you can heal, grow, and love the inner version of yourself, and then continue to experience great success, that's the feeling of true happiness and purpose. There's a quote I heard very recently at a conference I was at, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably saw it. I think it's my most recent post I did, and the quote is, "A bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul." And that quote, when I heard it, I immediately wrote it down, and it was like it fired me up because it really summarizes so much of what I want to talk about on this podcast series. I am going to give you a story in today's episode that was probably the first moment where I realized, wow, I have this ego inside of me that actually gets in the way. There's if I ever would have defined my ego prior, I probably would have thought it as maybe something that helps me in my sales career, because there's confidence and things like that. But maybe it got out of control. I don't know. And what's so interesting is I definitely am not the kind of person that walks around where I think I'm better than everyone. Although I'm sure I've probably been perceived that way in certain situations, but that's definitely not at all what I try to portray. But there's this inner ego, right, that only I'm sort of aware of, that when it's questioned, it comes fighting like a bat out of hell. And so this podcast series is about my journey of taming that damn bat. And sorry for the language, but let me get into it. So last year, I was very fortunate to be the number one seller at my company. I work for a company called AVI SPL, and we do about well over $1 billion a year in annual revenue. So to be a top seller or a number one seller at a company like that is a huge deal, huge accomplishment. Last year, 2022, was my 10th year anniversary at the company. So it was really, really cool to kind of like go from nothing and, in 2012 when I started to being, 10 years later, being the number one seller. That was really cool. When I started at the company, I was 24, and they definitely did not want to hire me or were not confident in hiring me because I was brand new to Boston, where I currently live. And I literally just moved, and was young and didn't know people, and I was able to convince them to give me a shot, and sort of the rest is history. And it may be in future episodes, I'll dive into that history a little bit if you guys are interested. But last year was such a powerful self journey year for me, I guess. It was cool to be number one. It definitely, in a way, like we would joke about it, like, sometimes maybe my head couldn't fit through the door about it. No doubt. But I wanted to stay humble, to be approachable, to help people. If people ask for advice, I wanted to give it to them. And so I've actually, found a lot of conversations in the last 6 months or so. I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, how'd you do it? What do you feel like is your kind of secret to success and everything?" And I'm really quick to affirm to them that I don't have it all together. I don't. There's probably a lot of very basic sales things that I do wrong every single day. I will give you some examples. And that they actually probably are highly skilled in some areas that they should really capitalize on. Probably more skilled than I am. And so it's something I try to encourage people, and I try to let them know that I don't have it all figured out. That I'm on this journey. So, a quick story for you guys, and I'll probably, circle back to the story multiple times in this podcast series. It was such a powerful, life-changing moment for me, honestly. About a year ago, I had this situation with a customer of mine where essentially I was asked to be excluded from a meeting because well, there wasn't a because or a reason that they gave, but I knew what the reason was, and the reason was because I think there was a fear that I was going to or concern I was going to push back on what they were asking for, and that I was going to essentially just debate it with them and argue against what they're asking for because I felt like it was unnecessary or not needed. And the story is, I was actually at dinner with another customer. I opened my email while we were just like waiting on drinks or something, and I see these meeting notes, and in the meeting notes was Steven to be excluded from meeting, and I lost it. I was furious. I mean, I could have probably done like 10-mile run of anger. Like I was just on fire, and like I remember that night I was just like furious. That fear, that anger quickly turned to fear because it was like, oh my gosh, like what have I done? Did I push back too far? This is scary territory for me. And the next morning I kind of woke up in panic and, was just really stressed out about it. I eventually called my boss and was like, oh, we got to do this. We got to get that. And like, now I'm trying to fix the situation. Now I'm trying to give them exactly what they're asking for, and do everything we can to support it. And, he circled back, and then an hour later, called him again to check in. And I kind of opened up, right? I told him, I was like, look, I was asked to be excluded from this meeting and this conversation to go over these specific things. And I will never forget, this moment where I was standing. I was in an airport getting ready to board a flight back to Boston. And he said to me, and, I can't imagine what his feeling was because he was like, this is so silly and probably minuscule. But to me, it was life-changing. He said to me, he's like, Steven, I think this was a hit to your ego. And when he said that, I mean, it was just like light bulbs going off in my head. And, honestly, I almost started crying. And it was like, I think it was like a cry of relief in a way, like if that makes any sense, where it was like, oh, okay, now I understand the anger, the fear, all of these things, and now I can address these things. Like I have the ability to do something about that. And I remember saying you're absolutely right, and just was almost like shocked in a way because I had no recognition or self-recognition of this and of what that feeling was inside me. And it was totally game changing. And I remember the whole weekend, my mind was that's all I thought about. I was just trying to like self-correct and how do I fix this? How do I get better? How do I improve? And all this stuff. So really, I'll kind of, the point of that story is that was a big, awareness moment, for me, of realizing, wow, I have this ego that, gets in the way of things, when it's questioned or things like that. And I continue to battle that ego every single day. Literally just yesterday had another situation in a meeting where, my ego was hurt by something so silly that, your average person probably wouldn't even care about. But I am the type of salesperson that, I like to be the one with all the answers and, the trusted advisor. And what I'm learning is I don't have to be the Superman to all things, right? And I have a whole team around me of excellent people. There's a whole company backing me and supporting me. And so I need to let other people shine. But I'll leave you guys with three things that I kind of wanted to walk away from this podcast with. The first thing is, like these are the three things that I've learned from sort of my first ego recognition experience, which is what I call that whole story. First thing is we have the power to change our own behaviors, which is, I found that to be really encouraging. And that's kind of what I meant by the whole sigh of relief earlier was I was like, wow, I have the ability to fix this. I have the ability to go to work on myself and try to get myself aligned. The second thing is what we think is important to the customer or what we think that they need is not always what they actually want or need. And so that is not a profound statement, right? If you're in sales, you're probably looking at me and be like, duh. We need to be able to, I need to be able to listen better, right? Seek to understand and not be quick to assume what they're asking or the thing behind what they're asking. I just need to listen. And, if there's room for debate, in a healthy way, maybe ask questions to get more clarification. But unfortunately, the thing that I've struggled with is I will make assumptions that, I have a strong background, strong experience in my industry. I know the products and solutions I'm selling and, well informed on them. So, I get quick to make assumptions like, oh yeah, no, you don't need that. And just kind of write off what they're saying. And it's not good. And the third thing is go easy on yourself. Life is about the journey, not, I don't know, just go easy on yourself. So that was probably the biggest thing I had people say to me when I would share this story, go easy on yourself. And it's something I have to tell myself every day, go easy on yourself, do your best. But we're constantly living and learning lessons. And that's a great thing about life. In these moments where I want to quickly fix a problem and stuff, they're things that can't go away overnight. And again, it's so true because a year ago I had this discovery and literally yesterday I was battling with the exact same thing once again. So that's it for today's episode. I hope in a way that's helpful. I look forward to recording a lot more of these episodes and hopefully they get better and better. Go easy on me. This is my first episode here, so I'm sure it's a little rocky. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and look forward to seeing the next one. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. If you could, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment. If you have feedback or advice or other topics that you would like me to cover, please put that in the comments and everything. I would love to talk on any things that you guys want to hear more about. So thank you guys.